national employment policy, I want to thank all the stakeholders and also who are in this very radio station when one of your colleagues actually challenged him and told me we'll never get a employment policy. But today I'm very happy, man, because the dream has come true. And this year when we were in Kasese for May Day, that was 1st May, I was giving a speech on behalf of the workers as the Chairman General of National Organization of Trade Unions. And I lobbied none other than His Excellency, the President of Uganda. I was very clear, and I told him, Your Excellency, the workers of Uganda request you to pass national employment policy, because I knew it was going in cabinet, and I was part of the committee that was formulating this policy. It was a great achievement that November this year, the cabinet in their sitting passed the national employment policy, which I have a copy now, though it's not yet out, but they are working on final copy by the Minister of Labor, Gender and Social Development. This is one of the actual policy that is going to liberate this country, especially in terms of employment. But we have not stopped at that. We are also looking at a way of strengthening the Ministry of Labor. Because right now, it's just a department within Ministry of Gender and Social Development.
Right.
Where you find there are a number of other social partners. Let me say the disabled,
right,
the women,
yes,
the youths, the cultural leaders.
Yes.
So you find that most of the people who are in that ministry, is not related to labor.
Yes.
So for us, we have now proposed to the government that we want a full-fledged Minister of Labor.
A standalone Ministry of Labor.
Yes.
Right.
And we have even gone ahead to try to propose the name. We are proposing it in a way that it is going to encompass what we call the productivity and employment.
What is that? Minister of Labor and Employment?
We are saying it must be Minister of Labor, Employment and Productivity.
And productivity?
Yes.
All right. So they don't just manage jobs that exist. They should work towards creating more jobs. Exactly.
And this is the area whereby all you find now, we are trying now to make sure that we have a mechanism that is streamlining by the time that ministry comes. Because we want a new government, the government which is coming, whether it is NRM coming back or another one, we must start with our own Minister of Labor.
Right.
And now we are trying to advocate for all the system in place. One of the things that we want to be there now in place is industrial court.
Right.
Industrial court is very important because this is the court
settling labor disputes.
Exactly.
Just like you have the commercial court in family.
Exactly. When you take these cases of arbitration and so on in this ordinary court, they don't understand.
They take a long time.
Then we are also looking at a way of, right now we are working on regulation. The regulation, I think, is with the Solicitor General. These are some of the mechanisms to strengthen all the relevant labor laws that we have. And these labor laws we have now, when we have regulation, it's very easy now to implement them. The issue now, implementation of the labor law, non-discrimination and so on, allowing people to join the union, all these, the inspecting workplaces to ensure that workers are really in what?
Have good work environment.
Right. And other things.
And the rights are respected.
And also addressing the issue of these people with disability, how they are done. But I will briefly come up and maybe tell you later how we know to, and our affiliates, take disabled persons in our working environment.
All right, we'll talk about that, the PWDs in specific detail later in this discussion. First of all, can you talk to us about this national employment policy? What do we find there? Minimum wages or what? What do we have in there?
National employment policy recommends that the Ministry of Labor appoints what we call minimum wage board, which is supposed to determine a minimum wage. And what we have done, we are also consulting with the Federation of Uganda Employers and other stakeholders to try to see that this minimum wage maybe is done sector by sector.
Yes.
Because we tried to push it, we found that our predecessors had actually pushed to a certain extent. Yes. But they are not going through because they were being looked at as if they were pushing for a unified minimum wage for everybody. And you say maybe it's going to get 200,000, which was difficult. For us, we are now saying, let's do it like the Kenyans and Tanzanians, whereby they say the sector which is in flowers, they are getting maybe 60,000 Kenya shillings
per month.
Per month.
Right.
Those in areas of, let me say,
fisheries. So you have a minimum wage for different levels. It's not uniform.
Exactly. And that's what we recommend. And for us now, we are going to push for that because it's now easy to push through that. And so, the Minister of Labour now has appointed the board. And
there's a minimum wage board already in place.
Yeah, there are already a minimum wage board in place, which we just need now to push them to make it functional.
Who's on this board? Can you tell us?
We have not yet, I've not yet got the name, but the minister confirmed to me this. That was Honorable Opio.
All right, so basically they're going to start working. When do they start working?
They are supposed to start working after consultation with the stakeholders. You know, we are...
That's Federation, that's an important
That is
FUE.
FUE, NOTO, we and our other center. You know, we have two centers, COFTO and NOTO.
Right, the center, the Confederation of
Free Trade Unions.
Free Trade Unions,
yeah. So we are working together to see that we improve and put in mechanism that can make the workers of this country more productive.
All right, very briefly, maybe, it might be prejudicial, but what is the response of the employers so far? Some of them might resist it.
You know, what was lacking was national employment policy.
Right.
We have also asked the government. The cabinet is supposed to come out with a directive to all the organizations to implement national employment policy. And that will be very easy for us now at the implementation level, because we will make sure now we are also asking the Minister of Labour to streamline their system within the Minister of Labour, because they are understaffed. And one of the things is that ministry, having all those other departments I mentioned, it is underfunded. You find that
it's not a core. It could be ignored for a whole.
Yeah, you find that the whole budget is 0.5
billion shillings.
Yes,
that's 500 million shillings.
Not 5, but according to the budget, it is 0.5.
What?
So that one, when you calculate,
0.5 percentage points. Of what?
Of the total budget of
the state budget.
Yeah, exactly.
If you take $7.5 billion shillings, you're talking about maybe $375 million shillings.
Something like that.
Less than half a billion dollars. That's a tiny amount.
So this is where you find that most of their programs cannot run properly. And you find, being a minister of gender, they would rather start with the gender issue. Right. I'm not saying that they have neglected so much.
But it's easy because they're lumped together with other people. Exactly. They could ignore you for a whole year and you don't even notice it. They say we're working, they have a report.
Exactly.
We should reflect
now,
action.
you find that things like inspection of labor is not done. And some of these things were decentralized, whereby the labor officers were supposed to be under the district.
Right.
And you know, labor officer is supposed to be an independent person who is supposed actually even to oversee the cow. But you find that is under cow, which is not right. And these are some of the things that we want to streamline.
And the district labor officer basically is supposed to be the man, if you are in a district, in change or wherever, and you need a job, that's the first person you go to him, and you should be able to find your job.
Exactly.
I've been to this office here. They find jobs, mostly maids and low-cadre jobs.
There's also issue.
They don't do much. They don't have
when you talk about unemployment, there's a department within Ministry of Labour which is supposed to be employment department.
Right.
That department is very key in that ministry. That's why we are demanding for a full-fledged ministry. That department is neglected, and that is the department which is now supposed to be all over the districts.
Right.
There are now 112 districts.
Yes.
Each district must have
At least one person.
one
district labor office.
that employment department.
Right.
Whereby it's supposed to collect data, it's supposed to ensure that how do people,
job seekers
exactly
and feedback into the national
and the feedback to
for planning purposes.
For planning purposes.
Send it to universities
but
and
some
other
of these things were neglected.
And employers.
Exactly.
All right. Let me come to you, Melda. Talk to us about the PWDs. Does the employment policy or employment situation in the country favor you?
First of all, disabled people right from the start are not educated. That is the first challenge. Most of them are not educated.
Most disabled people are not educated.
And lack of education arises from the negative attitude that they experience from their parents and the community, and the stigma that get attached to them. This, let alone, causes them to remain poor for the rest of their life. But of course, we have, of recent, the situation has a bit changed. We have some of the disabled people who have gone to school to the level of university. Many of them have gone to the university. But what we are here to talk about is actually about those who have gone to the university and graduated. The challenge is that, yes, they graduate, get good grades. Recently, I came across one who got first class, but the gentleman is not employed. Whenever he goes to look for employment, he will present his papers, but whether he gets the job or not is determined by his physical appearance. Employers look at the physical appearance first. Then they determine that you are able to work or not able to work. So we have many of our disabled people who have graduated on the streets, and many of them have attempted to look for jobs, but have not got jobs. And those who have got jobs, as you started noting in our survey, they get low-quality jobs to the extent that the little earnings they get cannot help them to meet their basic needs.
Right.
So that's the main challenge we have. But we also have people who cannot at all go to the formal employment, and as a result of their disability. Maybe I will also tell you about the disabilities we are talking about.
Right.
But we have some people whose disabilities make them fail to join formal employment, but they cannot even have a chance to join the private sector.
Right.
And we'll also talk about them. And another thing you mentioned, that we have 45% of the disabled people in the formal employment.
Yes.
And actually statistics has it that many of these, they are not even less than this. Because of this, we have 18% who are in the formal employment, but we have 38 in the private sector. And the 49, actually you mentioned 45, but they are 49.
49%.
Are unemployed at all. So
Right.
they have their papers, but they're seated with them at home. They move day by day looking for jobs, and they do not get jobs. And
because of discrimination.
our experience as UNAPD tells us that they are discriminated, because many of them tell us wherever they go, some of them have been shortlisted and even recruited. But when you come to start your work, then you're told, oh, sorry, there's been some restructuring, so you cannot have this job.
Right.
So you're sent away. Others are just sent away at the time when they are doing their interviews.
Right.
But we also have another challenge, of course, with our people that, yes, they have gone to university, but they have not been exposed enough that they are able to convince the employment panel
Right.
that they are the right employees they are looking for.
Yes.
So as UNAPD, we've been looking at the two aspects. How can we make disabled people be potential employees,
Right.
whom the employers
Sharpen
are
them a
looking
little
for?
bit, ready
Sharpen
them for the
them a bit.
marketplace.
And we've been engaging them, giving them skills on how they can package themselves in front of the employers, in front of the interview panels.
Right.
How can they write persuasive CVs,
yes.
not just empty papers, which are just thrown away at the beginning?
Yes.
How can they be able to present themselves assertively, talk about themselves? We've been doing that.
And override perception.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Negative perception.
But of course, this does not mean that the attitude has changed. Again, when we go to the employers, they tell us they don't see these people. When they see them, they are not yet fully prepared to do the work. So I've been talking to Were before we came in that we still have a lot of work to do. We need to really sit on the table and see who is blaming who. Is it us blaming them, or is it the employers blaming us?
All right.
And it is our next step.
Did you have an input into this employment policy, the draft?
No.
You did not?
And it is something that he
That's
has
a
promised
lacuna,
that we
that's a
should
gap.
be able to do.
That's another
That's
side.
another gap.
You think they should, maybe you have his address. He'll give you his card maybe.
He has already given me.
So you can follow it up with him.
So we'll follow it up.
And be firm with him. Tell him if you want to keep your job, you need
And,
to talk to us nicely.
We already started an engagement with NOTU,
Right.
and
Are they positive? Do they
their
listen to you?
response is very positive,
Okay.
because they also appreciate that disabled people are potential employees, and they also have experience that there are some organizations that have employed us, and they actually don't regret why they have employed us.
Right.
So that means that if we can do more, then our disabled people are potential employees, and they would make good employees. Because one time someone was sharing with me and said that once a disabled person has been given a job, they are there full time. They actually work beyond.
And they probably stay longer than other people.
Yes. So
Maybe
we are
I
still
can comment on that. First of all, I want to inform the listeners and you
Yes.
that me, I'm a son of a disabled person.
Oh.
And my father, I'm very proud of him because he made me what I am. And being a disabled person, the good thing, he was a civil servant. It started from zero when his uncle bought him a bicycle. And it was from the village. He used to ride a bicycle very, very far to go to school. And this is one of the things that make me really struggle and advocate.
You have a heart for them, obviously.
Yeah. So in one of our union, that is Amalgamated Transport and General Workers Union, we have what we call collective bargaining agreement, where we sign with the employer and the union.
Yes.
What happens, we have a provision in the CBA of what we call non-discrimination. And it is according with the Employment Act, whereby it doesn't allow anybody to be discriminated. I'll give you one of the company where live in Enhas, handling services, that is at the airport.
Yes.
They have employed many disabled people, and those workers are doing very well, and we are proud of them. Actually, in one of the workers' committee, we have also introduced that culture of making sure that a disabled person is represented on one of the committee, so that it can articulate and bring out the issue which concerns what? Workers.
Okay.
But I think what is lacking now is making people aware of disabled people with disability.
Right.
And the relevant policy and involving them in most of the things that we are doing. But since we are in this area of advocacy for the vulnerables, we are going to work together and see how really we can minimize some of these things.
Well, very positive words coming from the chairman of NOTU, that's the national
Chairman
organization, Chairman General.
Because there are many chairmen there. So,
Right.
So I'm the general of the chairman.
Chairman General. You are the Saba Gabe, if they were Gabes.
Yes.
Well, that's Mr. Owere, National Chairman, Chairman General of the National Organization of Trade Unions. Let's move forward. Mr. Lubuama, we know that government has put in place an incentive for employers. They've given them a 15% tax reduction if one employs 10 or more disabled people. Are employers responding to this?
Employers had started to respond towards that, but the problem came in that there were no regulations yet
Yes.
to operationalize that part of the act. That is Section 17 of Persons with Disabilities Act.
Yes.
Then, incidentally, the Minister of Finance, I think Honorable Saida Bomba, also came into Parliament and complained over that and asked Parliament to review that provision of the Act.
What was her complaint?
And right now, it was reduced from 15% to 2% because she said government realized that it was losing a lot of money.
Yes.
Via that 15% deduction. So it was reduced from 15% to 12%. Then the next reason she gave was that many employers were exploiting persons with disabilities using that act. They were employing them for low-cadre jobs, being like cleaners, receptionists, and they go to government to claim for a tax deduction. So in a way, they pay very little to persons with disabilities who are employed, and they claim for a lot of money.
Because according to figures, official figures, the government was losing about 20 billion. So that means the employers were recouping 20 billion and yet paying this for very little.
Yes, very little. But then still, the government, through the Minister of Finance, gave something in exchange for that reduction. And that is the special grant for persons with disabilities.
What is that?
That special grant, it's some amount of money. Initially, it was 3 billion in the financial year 2009-2010 through the Ministry of Gender. Initially, it was a pilot, and it was piloted in 48 districts of Uganda, where they gave each district 30 million shillings for persons with disabilities. This 30 million was to promote employment of persons with disabilities in each district. And that money was channeled through district, rather associations of persons with disabilities in each district. So in that financial year 2009-2010, that money was there in 48 districts. Then in this new financial year 2010-2011, it's not 30 million per district, but it's between 20 to 30 million.
So they've slashed it.
Yeah.
But is it because we have more districts?
No, it has been rolled out into all. It's 110. We have 112 districts.
Yes.
But it's in 110 districts,
Right.
between 20 and
30
million, depending on how big the district is in terms of sub-counties. But that money is basically to promote employment of persons with disabilities. It goes through the associations that they have, and they use it to create jobs.
So basically, we can say
basically, the government is giving too little via that, but is saving a lot of taxes.
Let's take it slowly.
In a tax deduction.
Let's take it slowly. Government is doing something to help the disabled, giving them money so they can become their own employers.
Yes,
right?
yes.
However, they've spread to 110 districts, which is commendable. That's only 2 districts haven't got it. Yeah. But the question here is, it's a little bit too little.
Yeah, still it's a little bit too little, we could say. And there have been some reports of mismanagement of that fund.
Before we get to the mismanagement, let's talk about what we have in the basket. Let's talk about what we have in the basket, because you can plan on what you have. 20 to 30 million shillings per district. You say it's a little bit on the lower side.
Yes, it's very little.
What is the ideal?
Compared to the number of PWDs, the number of persons with disabilities we have in each district.
What is the ideal?
That money is little. Before I go to the ideal one, because that money is not all given out, because some of it, about 3 million, remains for administration, administrative affairs
you have to expect that.
In the district. So if you get 20 million, then 17 million would go out. Basically, I cannot propose what could be ideal, but still maybe something like 50 million per year.
50 million. So we're not too far away.
Per year. That's something not too big compared to what the government was losing, 20 billion.
Let's get the magnitude of this. Government is already doing something, which is commendable. 110 out of 12. You have to give them credit for that.
Yes.
Now, but you're saying it's not enough, and you're saying if they just doubled it, things will be better. They're not too far away off the mark.
Yes, I think the next new government
if I could say something about the special grant,
right.
I want to thank government for that initiative. But also from the human rights point of view, we need the disabled people to go and work by themselves. Because that grant, Hamad is saying it's little. And looking at the number of disabled people in each district, I don't think everybody is able to access that money.
Well,
But
if you get it every year, some people get this year, then next year, 3 years, they probably solve.
But when some people get this year, what will others be doing? They'll be waiting for next year.
Well, we're looking at
Then
I
that,
mean, there are
that means
sectors-
poverty will never end.
There are sectors that don't get anything at all. That's why I'm looking at it from a broader perspective. For you to say government is giving at least half, to me that's because I know what other sectors which are really, really going. We know the roads and other things. I don't want to go into those.
Yeah,
So-
may I thank them for that, but I also say that that's one approach. But another approach is that, for example, we have the service commissions in the different districts.
The district service commission.
Yes, would expect that when they are recruiting, they have disabled people recruited to join the local government, so that they are also pensioners. They don't only survive on handout, because
Right.
what if
This is
next
not a
year we
handout.
have
This is capital. They could use it for
what if
capital.
we have 300 districts next year? Then the money is going to go as low as
Well, the population won't double.
so.
But
But-
this money they get in the special grants. it's
Already
supposed
there is
to
an
help them.
indicator, because if you
It's
say
supposed
that
to help them set up
it used to
business
be
of it.
30, but now it's between 20 and 30. Next year it may be between 15 and 20. So
Well, if the districts
yeah,
double.
so my thinking would be that we need to use different approaches of having people do their own. Yes, that money could help them to do entrepreneurship business.
They could set up their own
But
businesses
we need
and employ other people.
yeah, those who are qualified, they also need to join the formal employment.
Right.
So I thank government for that, but also request them that they look at other approaches we can use to have disabled
Ms. Sore,
people
give us a
employed.
broader perspective on this.
This is what I was telling, that my dad actually was is a disabled, and when I was growing up, there are a few things I saw by then the government was doing, imparting skills on the disabled people, and they had their own institute. I think one of the institute was Nakawa. They used to call it Kireka.
Right. There used to be an institute there. I don't remember the name.
For disabled.
Yes.
And these are some of the things that I would want the government to revive. Because, all right, you can give you money.
What kind of institute was it for somebody who might not have known about it? What kind of institute was it?
The institute was actually giving them skills, like there are those who are disabled, but you find that they can
So it would collect people from across the country.
across the country.
They house them there.
Uh-huh.
They give them different skills.
Skills, and then
And it's fully paid for by the government.
exactly, and then they are posted to different districts.
So the government has a proactive approach.
Exactly.
Of
and
giving them
when they are
jobs.
posted, they also now go down there and train other people,
Right.
the disabled and those who are not even what.
Right.
So you find that my father is a skilled person, even today, when is at an age of around 70.
Right.
But when you go
He's
home,
still a very young man.
when you go home and
70 is very young.
yeah, but he's so creative that he has even more skills than some of the children we have.
Right.
When he comes to my home, he keeps on telling me, can you do this? Can you do this to your children? And that kind of skill is what we need now the government to do. I'm appreciating that the government has done a lot in the areas of disability. But we need to go wider and do things that will even benefit more people.
So one silver bullet, they could revive that thing in Chirika. It's been there
Exactly.
before.
Exactly.
Well, do you know what happened to it?
There was...
Under what minister was it, for instance?
It was under Minister of Culture
Right.
and the Rehabilitation.
Yes.
By then. Then, there's this adjustment program, SAP, which almost
Right.
collected most of
The
the
IMF
ministry,
program in 1997.
which was really, really bad. Most of the good things.
So it was cancelled out of SAP.
Yeah, and it created unemployment. It created...
Right. I know what happens with SAP.
There's
Not
a lot
only
of...
here, but even in other countries.
Exactly. There's
Right.
a lot of skills gap now coming out of those.
Right.
And these are some of the things now we are now talking about employment. When we are talking about productivity,
Right.
we are talking about imparting skills, knowledge. Look at the students from Makerere University,
These
for
days.
example. They come out with a lot
These
of...
days, it's hard to get a good quality
Exactly. Now,
employee.
you can even ask somebody to write an application.
I've seen that. You get their dissertations, their papers, and
So
you're not sure he's actually a
so
graduate.
there's a problem. We need now the skills gap. We need us to make a survey. There is a lot of information that this actual national employment policy will solve the problem. If only there's implementation. But we as a National Organization of Trade Union, we are on our focus this year. We want to see a lot of things happening.
Melda, yes?
Yes, I was still on the issue of special grant.
Yes.
Hamad was going to mention the issue of mismanagement.
Yeah, let's get some more.
And it's not a surprise, and it takes me back to what Were is saying. Yes, this grant is given, but some people don't know what it's for. Some people think it's
Paint the bill.
an offer from government. So maybe we need government to go down and follow this grant and maybe educate people on how to use it. Because unless they do that, it will become like Entandikwa, which people got and thought that it was an offer from the government.
Maybe Hamad can give us some more information on that. What kind of grant is it? How is it used? Is it payable? Is it supposed to be paid back? Or is it? But a grant is, well, some grants are paid back.
No, it's not supposed. You are not supposed to pay it back. You use it, but the government put it in place to be able to develop persons with disabilities and to get something to do. Specifically, it's a grant to enable people generate income on a sustainable nature. So when you get it, you don't have to pay to pay it back.
How is it abused? People show up with bald heads and they say they're also disabled or what?
Yeah, I've received some complaints from some districts and from some
an
of
old man,
our members in
an
our...
old man was a prime minister.
In our
some people
district.
said he had eaten money for orphans. They said, I'm also an orphan. And you can't deny that. Go on.
Yeah, in a way that this money is supposed to go to associations of persons with disabilities. But some of the district officials, you find that when the money comes, they make their own associations. I register those associations hurriedly, and this money goes to associations. I could call them ghost associations.
Which districts can
Which
you name?
associations
Which
cannot? I can point out to Chiboga district.
In Chiboga district,
yes,
if the officials are listening, they know. In Chiboga district, it has happened.
Yes, I've also got some complaints in Tororo and Luwero.
Yes,
where we have these cases. And it's fortunate that even in Chiboga, we have a minister from there, Honorable Ruth Nankabirwa.
Right.
She has also recognized that it has been mismanaged, but she has promised that the government is going to take care of that. So associations are there that are for persons with disabilities, but when they go out, they don't get the funds. They hear that this fund, this quota has gone to such and such an association, which they have never known, and which association doesn't exist. So that's a very big problem. And if the government finds that it's not realizing the impact or the objectives for which it was set, the government might be even hurry to withdraw that grant.
But how can you address that problem of abuse?
We are telling our people always to be vigilant, to try to see.
Where is it centrally released? Where does it originate centrally?
It comes from the Ministry of Gender.
Yes.
Then the Ministry of Gender sends it to the district. Then there is a district committee headed by the COW of the district.
The chief administrative officer.
Yes. Then the two persons with the disabilities representing their fellow persons with disabilities in that district, they are members. The community development office is also a member of that committee. So it's that committee that manages that fund.
Right.
Yes, that's how it is supposed to be managed.
I think DEEP should do more than that, because
that's the National Union of the Disabled People in Uganda.
Exactly.
NUDIP, yes.
You are supposed to take a role of monitoring some of this fund, ensuring that the people who get this money are the right people. You are also supposed now to put a mechanism at all the levels, maybe at regional or district, if you can have to handle at regional, but at the district. And also make sure that this program is detached from politics. Most of our programs normally fail because there's that attachment with it. Some people would like to own it and then take it as their political drive,
right,
which actually is normally retards that kind of good programs. So my advice to NUDIP that you must now come in and do the role of trying to see that these people get what they deserve.
All right. I'll come back to you, Hamad, once again.
Maybe to say that we've been monitoring, and that's why we are getting this feedback.
Right. Okay.
And we are UNAPD. We are not NUDIP.
Well, you're aligned.
Is our mother organization, but we've been doing it as UNAPD, trying to monitor, and that's why you'll find that we are getting such feedback. But of course, monitoring something you are not directly involved in giving, especially money, even if you are the one and someone gave you money and then I come to say, how much have you received? You would wonder how.
Talk to us about UNAPD. How is it constituted at the center? How is it spread out across the country?
Yes, UNAPD is Uganda National Action on Physical Disability. It's a national advocacy organization that works to promote and protect the rights of persons with physical disabilities. I hope we all know that we have many disabilities in Uganda and all over, where we have the deaf, the blind, but for us we are looking at physical disability.
Right.
And many people think that physical disability is about crawling and the wheelchair.
Right.
But as UNAPD, we have it more than that.
Identify them for us.
We have many of them, and we have among them those who have been affected by polio. We call them polio survivors. We have those who
they have physical disabilities.
Yes, they have physical disabilities.
Go on.
We don't use the term lame. We use the term disability.
Go on.
Yeah. So we have some people you've seen some people whose feet are facing each other.
Yes.
We call it club foot.
Club, okay.
They're also our members. We have people who have suffered leprosy. They are also members of physical disability.
So some of their digits have fallen off or something like that?
Yes.
Go on.
But we have some people with brain injury. Those are people whose brain has been damaged by
so they think slower than the average
factors.
person.
Yeah.
Right.
And some of them are not able to do anything by themselves.
Right.
We have those who have spinal cord injury. Most of these are as a result of the accidents.
Right.
We have many accidents here. I think it's not even a new issue.
Right.
We have those who are suffering from rheumatism. Rheumatism is a medical term, and those people mainly are patients. But among those patients, we have those who have developed paralysis as a result of the long-term joint pains. Their fingers, their joints end up getting paralyzed, and they join the category of physical disability. We have amputees.
People have lost, whose limbs are being cut off.
Some limbs. We have those with hydrocephalus.
Right.
Those whose
distended heads.
Distended heads.
Right.
We have little people, very short.
Right.
You have seen some of them. We have those with hunchbacks.
Right.
They also fall under that category. We have those who have suffered cerebral palsy as a result of long-term malaria.
Right.
We have spinal bifida. We don't have many cases here, but we have some of them. Elephantiasis.
Right.
Those are also part of physical disability. So it's a big section of society.
Okay.
And when you look at it from the employment point of view, their disabilities make them challenged differently.
Right.
Someone who has suffered polio will have different challenges in looking for employment than someone who has suffered brain injury.
Yes.
The person who has suffered brain injury is mainly at home, being just kept indoors, but still they all have a problem of employment, both within the formal and informal sector.
Right. Okay.
And
I know you not
mainly the work we do with them is that we are the voice at national level. And at district level, we have what we call district associations. He has been.
So you have offices in districts, but they don't give this money to you.
No offices, but we have structures.
But they don't give the money to you, even though you have
money.
Representatives at the district.
Those are the structures he has been talking about.
So they send the money to you.
They receive the money, not to the head office, but directly to the districts. And we have also sub-county
to your people. They send it to your people.
Yes.
And
they send it to our people at the district level.
Right. So where does the corruption come in?
Corruption in Uganda is everywhere.
Is it inside? I'm trying to be very polite. Is it inside your organization or is it elsewhere?
It's not within the organization, but it's
the committee set up by the district. The committee I talked about.
So some people from outside, your people are not corrupt, but some people from outside come in and bring habits.
Yeah, maybe some of our people can also be corrupt, but that's why I'm saying it's spread
over. Well, at least we know where the cancer is. We know how to pluck. We can know how the people I'm speaking on their behalf. They know where to look for it. Let's talk about. You never mentioned the albinos. They're not part of you. You don't consider them.
At the moment, they are not part of us. They are still identifying themselves as category.
They don't want to come in, or you don't want to let them in?
They want to come in, but they're
You're
still
not sure.
identifying where they belong. As I've said, there are many categories of disabilities.
Right.
Some people say they belong to the blind because mainly...
Well, but even
they
physically,
affect
they
the
look
sight.
different.
Others say physically. So they are still identifying themselves, and one time they'll find...
So the problem is
where
not
they
with
fall.
you. They're still
At
sorting
the
out
moment,
certain
not
things.
yet.
Okay, briefly before we go to hear from the listeners, you mentioned administrative services. When they have to spend money on office rent and painting walls, how much of that is that too high? You think? Do they spend too much on administration, disproportionately?
No, I don't think. I think that the proportion is ideal because the district, the administration, the cost of the administration is supposed to be 3 million. So if you get 30 million and the cost
That's
of
10%,
administration
which is
is
normal.
3
Sometimes it's
million,
15%.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
That's not a
Because
big
as
problem.
I said, there is a committee supposed to have 6 people.
Right.
And wherever they sit to get these applications,
They
review
get
them, to
allowances.
monitor at the district level, this is the kind of mind they have to use. It's not...
They take tea with snacks.
It's not too much, but what we want is that the rest of the
facilitation.
balance, if the district received the 30 million, then the 27
So that's not a
million...
problem. Let's not spend
should
too much
go
on time.
out.
It's not a
Yes,
problem. It's
yes.
within proportion.
Yeah, the administration is
It's
within
not a problem. The
proportion.
problem is somewhere
But
else.
what
The
we want
cost
is
benefit-
this money to
beneficiaries.
go out to genuinely to associations of persons with disabilities,
Well-
not ghost associations. Yes.
All right, let's hear from our listeners. Dear friends, this is Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight we're looking at the unemployment phenomenon in this country. Is Uganda doing enough to address this challenge? Our guests in the studios, we have Mr. Wilson Owere, Chairman General of the National Organization of Trade Unions. That's the NOTU, the only organization, the umbrella body of workers in this country. We have Ms. Melda Tumkunde, Executive Director of the Uganda National Action on Physical Disability, and Mr. Hamad Lubo, Information Officer at the same organization. You can call in now and ask questions or make general comments. You could talk to us about these ghost centers or whatever information you might have. Our telephone numbers, 041...
Edmond.
I'd like to read out the number for everyone, each one of us. 0414 348 111 0312 260 390. Spectrum, hello?
Hello, good evening, Edmond, and your guests.
Yes, that's
This is
Peter Wamboga
Wamboga.
Mjiri.
Edmond, my seasonal greetings to you and Radio 1 management.
Yes, Peter, you're welcome.
Now, Edmond, I want to look at broadly the issue of disability. I'm glad that there are efforts by that organization and other people trying to advocate for the rights of people with physical disabilities and any other disabilities as enumerated by the lady in the studio. I'm glad that I want to really salute them for that effort. Because, Edmond, all of us are potentially disabled people. The potential to be disabled is very high as long as you're a human being, as long as you're a living organism. Now, if we have people who advocate for rights of such people, I want to applaud their efforts. Secondly, Uganda has one of the highest road accidents in Africa and indeed in the world. And as a result, so many people are disabled along the way. Now, we need such organizations and we need government to recognize the issues that are raising which need attention. Because the large number or the high rate of accidents in this country require government intervention in such a way. We must prepare for Ugandans who are being disabled by accidents every day. So we need a ministry or a department which is really critical, and we need this to be focused on very seriously by the government in terms of regulation, policy, resources, manpower, and also the well-being and the training of skills, the provision of skills, the institute at FETA, at Kireka. I'm glad Mr. Wilson talks about it. Asha Wilson of NOTU. We need this institution to be revived and expanded. The structured adjustment programs did a lot of havoc, I agree with you. But these were not in the interest of Uganda largely because we are going and realizing that it was wrong, first of all, to readjust so massively. And the disabled people are one of the hardest hit. So I'm glad that we have people who are talking about it, and I want to thank Radio 1 for having provided them a platform to talk about this issue. Thank you very much.
Right, Peter Wamboga Mjiri, thank you very much. Veteran journalist there.
Hello,
Spectrum, hello?
my name is Jamilu from Kazoya.
With your name again?
So what I want to ask here. Hello?
We can hear you.
So On this point of what you've just said about the money they send for these people with the disabilities, yes? Hello?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Go on.
You can hear?
Yes,
So
please. Yes.
the money we use to open up account numbers is too much because I'm a victim of such a circumstance. So now why don't they?
Okay, we've lost you, but I think we've got a core point that you were trying to raise. You need a lot of money to open the account. Yes, hello?
Hello?
This is Petro. Can you switch off your radio, please?
Good evening, sir.
You might have to switch off your radio if we are to be able to communicate. Hello?
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Switch off your radio.
Hello?
Can you switch off your radio? Get out of the house.
I've switched it off.
Go on.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Your name?
Now,
Your name?
I am Omeri.
Oh, Mary. Go on.
My complaint is that those people on the studios, they are doing a very good job. But then my request to them is that they should come down and investigate more so on issues of children with disabilities in relation to education, because the government has provided for them. But you find that there are some ex-officials who are some of us are on the ground, but we cannot communicate. So we are kindly requesting them, let them come down and try to study more so on education. Are the children getting the resources? And then I wanted them to help me. Is the Minister of Education, as the...
We lost you there, but I think we got the gist of your point. Thank you all the same. Hello, our next caller. Spectrum, hello? All right. Okay, let's hear from you. Melda, what do you say to some of these special needs children? They can't get all the help
I'll
they need.
thank all the callers and the views they are bringing out. Most of them are recommendations. And the one on education, yes, today we came to talk about employment. I believe we'll have a chance. I hope Radio 1 will give us a chance to talk about education and what we have found out.
Right.
Because we've also been on the ground to establish what's happening. Maybe about opening account. Can you
Yes.
Yeah, maybe about opening account. I think.
How much is
yes?
needed?
I think it's not so much.
How much
in Centenary Bank, if you're an association, you need about 50,000.
If it's an association.
Yes, you need about 50,000 to open an account. But if you're an individual, it's 10,000. I think that's why there is a problem. They think if you're an individual, you can use 10,000, and if you're an association, you can use 10,000. That's not possible. But in Centenary Bank, which has so many branches in many districts, it's 50,000. So I think since it's an association, our people can come together and contribute that 50,000 and be able to open an account. But what I wanted to add there is that people who have called us, it indicates like their attitude is good. They are giving us compliments, and if that's the same attitude that the employers also have, it will be very good. And the call I can make it to employers is that we have made it easy for them. Those employers who wish to employ persons with disabilities, we have their CVs, we have their database. If you want them, you may not necessarily make an advert. You can come to UNAPD, you can contact us, and we give you the skills you want. You just tell us of the skills we have. We shall look into our database. We register these people. We know much about them. We can give them to you, and you make a pick. We do that at UNAPD. We register persons with disabilities. Their level of qualification is, we train them into the skills which we think are very good for employment, and we keep their data. So if you are an employer out there, you can contact us at UNAPD. Our officers are in Kanyanya. And you tell us what you want. Kanyanya is near here. It's about 4 kilometers.
4 kilometers.
Yes, from here. From
Gayaza
Road. Here, Gayaza.
Which is being worked on.
Yes, Gayaza Road. And because we received the complaints that PWDs, yes, we would give them jobs, but we don't see them. Where are they?
So they can also go to the Ministry of Labour.
So now the Ministry of Labour doesn't have that data. We interact with them.
Well, they can give them your contact.
Maybe if they go there, they can give them our contact, and we have that data. Then the other thing is about loans. and in banks about how easy is it for persons with disabilities to get loans and start their own businesses and to be able to create their own jobs. Yes, we could say it's not all that very well. PWDs cannot adequately access loans because of mainly negative attitude. Yes, perception is. They think persons with disabilities will not be able to pay back. But I think now, because of much advocacy, the perception is in a way trying to change. Because we have brought on board the Association of Microfinance Institutions in Uganda. It's called AMFU. Association of Microfinance Institutions in Uganda.
Yes.
It's helping us to do advocacy, and they are doing a lot of publicity, urging their members are microfinance institutions, to employ persons with, rather to give loans to persons with disabilities.
Right.
And I think with time, the attitude will start to change. Now we have some people who have started to access those loans.
Let's hear from some more callers. Spectrum, hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Your name, sir?
My name is Malinga in Kampala.
Yes.
My question is, what have those organizations we hear on radio done about all these people with disabilities we see on the roads? I know many of our people are very concerned about accountability, about this, but it must tally with what we see on the ground. You go every street in Kampala, you find a lame person, a disabled person begging. When there are all these billions you're talking about, where is it going? It must be seen to be working. Thank you very much.
Yes, let's take our next caller. All right, let's respond to that. Madam Melda.
Yes, thank you.
Do you go to the streets looking for them?
No, we actually don't.
With a
go
form
to
and
the
a
streets
clipboard, taking down their names.
look for that people. But I wanted to say that we are doing work, but disabled people are part of Ugandans. These people belong to us, and there are many people looking for what to do on the streets, and that's why actually we are talking about employment. If Uganda had, if not had strategies of ensuring that everybody is having something to do, would not have some of these people on the street. So we can't promise that we'll get everybody off the street because they are looking for jobs, and this is what we were talking about, that people are just doing whatever they can to survive. Right. And getting them off the street means that you have to give them you have to give them something which UNAPD is not able to do. Right. So we are saying some
of them are involved in trade. They're not begging.
They are not begging. Some of them are working. So we need to work together, not to government, everybody, even the callers. We need to support each other to see that they are not on the street to beg, but at least they're on the street to do something. Right. I don't think there's anybody who wishes to be on the street, but they are there because of the conditions. But we've been trying to talk to some of them to be off the street. There's an organization that has been struggling to get them off the street. I know some of them, it has become like, I don't know whether I should call it a habit, that they cannot be off the street. Because I know some of the people who have been given some work to do, but they have decided to desert and get back to the streets.
Yeah, how I can answer Malinga, there's what we call the institutional coordination of issues. Disabled people are part of Ugandans. And sometimes I want to thank Peter very much, because Peter really supported the idea of reviving the Chiraka Institute. Most people have nothing to do. Now, when you engage them like that institute, they become people. Some of them are not there. They are there because they lack something to do. And it's the role of the government to do that. Me and Malinga, we must push government to do the right thing. And that's what we are doing now. We are advocating for these vulnerable people. I want Malinga also to join us, and we do it together. Identify and tell government on how we can solve this problem. The problem of unemployment is a very big issue, but can be solved when we team up, all of us. and we look at areas. Because I was telling government, when government was coming up with the issue of retiring people at 50.
55, 50.
No, 50.
Ridiculous. You
At,
can't do that.
at first they said 50.
You can't even
and then
do
later on, how do you start that kind of scheme when you have not even
I don't think it was
set
very well thought out.
A social system in the country?
Because some people have skills that you need.
Exactly.
And it's a very short time. Some people join the civil service late
the
because of their
structure
training.
adjustment threw so many people on the street.
Right.
I came up and I opposed that. And the actual government saw sense in what we are saying.
Right.
And that's what we want to see most of Ugandans doing. This country has potential of accommodating all of us when we do the right thing. But we must open our eyes. We must ask the government to do the right thing.
Do you think there's a possibility of you people in Notu working with other people getting donor support for this Chireka Institute? Since we've seen it's a linchpin.
What we are going to do is we are going to work together with all the social parties.
You could write some of these donors. They could give.
And
would it cost a lot of money to run it?
What we are going to do, because we also
how much would you need to revive it broadly? Off your head. Just give us an idea. Give us a scale.
Maybe. No, you don't need even.
Give us a scale. Let's have an idea.
I first need to look at the structure now. What is it doing?
How big is it? Is it a small plot? Is it a huge thing?
No, it's a big institution.
I've not been there myself.
But you know, it has been. I think
is it like a secondary school, a primary school? I'm talking about scale, size.
Like an institution. It's like, let me say, a college.
It's like a college.
Yeah.
Right. So
but for us, as not, we also had a problem with the government, because sometime in the 70s, there was an institute which was taken away from the Notu.
Which was that?
That is now Law Development Center.
What was it called at that time?
It was called Labor Institute. It was a labor institute, imparting skills on those who are coming out of schools, and then you.
So these people narrowed it to law.
You take them through labor, and then.
I'm going to follow that up.
Yeah. So
take an interest.
We have a lot to do. This country, we must redirect it with the people.
Yes.
And tell the government what we want the government to do for the betterment of Ugandans. Me, I support the government. But I will never see my government doing a wrong thing.
And you keep quiet.
I keep quiet.
Well, you're measured. You don't come with swords. I've followed you for many years. You don't come with swords. You're not reckless in your statements. I can say that. Let's talk about this piece of land before we leave. Does the land title, do we know where the land title is?
Of
that school in Chireka which is not operating?
We need to find out from the Ministry of Gender.
We know some of the things that happen to land in this town.